All right, here we go. Hit the music and here we go. Boom, chow, chow, boom, chow. And we're back. And we're back, and we're back, and we're back. So, it has been over, I think, a year since the Wally Opus Podcast was live, or was active. And in that year, so much has happened, so much has changed. We've in 2023 was a solid year for the growth and for the development of Wally Opus as an organization, as a small company, and as and then the acts too, the development of the roster and of the people we work with, and the whole setup, the whole behind the scenes, everything changed a lot this year. So as you'll notice, the title of the podcast is something that I heard on a podcast yesterday, and it blew the top off my thinking. Wholesome is the new punk. And as I heard that, it like gear, it was almost like a little, like, how like in Transformers, it's like when the cars transform into something, it's like all that rewind. That's what it felt like yesterday. It was like my brain was rewiring itself. Wholesome is the new punk, because what happened, what made me, what snapped for me was that this idea that maybe Wally Opus is a wholesome label. And I do not mean that as we're a righteous label, or we are we're all out good and doing everything right and never make mistakes. It's nothing like that. I didn't say perfect label, but wholesome as in, so here's what comes to mind when I think of wholesome. And by the way, this podcast is a reintroduction. I'm reintroducing Wally Opus as it's what it is today. So what I want to bring up is this idea of wholesomeness. What comes to mind when I think of wholesome is this idea that that a family. So I always think of my wife's family, a very wholesome family. Her parents have a strong relationship rooted in faith, and their priority is their family and their community. They help people. They say yes. They're available to help, but they're always also spending time with one another, spending time with their kids, family dinners. Their grandkids are their one of their purposes right now is, raising grandkids. But but in that too, there's what I think is special, or what I think is a key ingredient is the honesty that they have with one another. If one of them, if we're sitting at dinner and somebody says something and then another sibling's like, that's stupid, why would you think that? Or like, oh my gosh, like why would you, they just call each other out, and it's, or, they work through things, they want to know why things aren't working out for them, or why were you not at church on Sunday, things like this. And the idea that being wholesome is not actually about being perfect or being always good, but it's about, I think it's about a bond that through thick and thin, we are with each other, and we want to be with each other. We show up for each other, and we want what's best for each other. And it means having hard conversations and working through things that are difficult and tough, and calling each other out when things aren't going well. And then being honest and being open to working through those difficulties. So when I heard wholesome is the new punk, I thought of responsibility, and I thought of having a family. I thought of being in a community. I thought of having kids and being married, and what commitment means. Respecting tradition while not always, while understanding it has its flaws. being open to new ideas, even if they scare us, even if they scare me. But this idea that, what it brought clarity to my mind was that I've been working through this vision statement a ton for Wally Opus for the last 3 months, just like it's always in the back of my mind. What's our why? What's our purpose? I read Simon Sinek's book, or Simon Sinek, depends on how you pronounce his name. I read his book, Starting with Why, and it really got the gears going in my head. And I've had 200 vision statements written, and I didn't know how things are going to land here or there. But so I'm on my walk yesterday, and I hear this wholesome is the new punk, and I'm like, holy shit, I gotta write this down. Or who am I gonna send this to? And I'm like, no, I don't want to send it to anybody. I want to write this down. So I pull up my notes on my phone, which is where I write 90% of my thoughts and ideas and to-dos and everything else. I pre-write my messages in there before I send them, stuff like that. And I have this tab called Wally Opus. I probably have 20 tabs called Wally Opus, but this one, I clicked on it, and the first thing it said was, we believe in combining imperfect parts to make a perfect whole. And I don't know when the fuck I wrote that, but I'm like, yeah, oh shit, whole. And so under it, I put wholesome is the new punk. And this is not new, the perfectly, the imperfect parts making a perfectly whole thing, or a perfectly whole, a perfect whole, because the Wally Opus logo, and I say this all the time, I have it on a shirt, it's on all of our bios, the Wally Opus logo is representative of the word Wally, is the old Scottish slang term for, that's what I read online years ago. I need to fucking figure that out as a fact before I keep spinning it. Maybe one guy from Scotland said it, but I'm rolling with it. Wally means perfectly imperfect. It means something that has a wonkiness to it, but its flaws give it the character that makes it uniquely special. And I always love that term. I've discovered it in 2018. And then opus meaning body of work, more so body of musical work. So you have perfectly imperfect body of musical work, Wally Opus. And then the swirl was a vision that came to me during a psychedelic experience when I was in college. And it was just this idea, or this vision of swirling down, and everything in history and in the future exists in this sort of dimensional swirl that I saw. And for whatever reason, that symbol stuck with me, and I got it tattooed on my arm. And I knew that whatever my life's work is, it will be symbolized by this image of a swirl. Didn't know what it meant at first. However, now, years later, which I think this is important in establishing a vision, is I think it's discovered, not necessarily invented. Maybe it is invented for some people and they're cool with that, but for me, I'm the type of person who has to discover things that are rooted in experience or in meaning or in reality. And so with the swirl, I was hanging out with my buddy. I've told this story before, but I was hanging out with my buddy who's an artist, a visual artist, Cooper. He's a painter now, but at the time he was doing everything, including graphic design, which he can still do very well. But we were just drinking beers at my old apartment where the label was started in West Virginia Street here in Evansville. And I kept saying I need a logo, and he said, give me a notebook. Draws the logo vigorously, hand drawn. The Wally Opus logo is hand drawn, and then the symbol, I said it needs a swirl somewhere. He put it in this Illustrator software, I assume, Illustrator probably, and pulls it up, spreads the words a little bit, the handwritten words, spreads them a little bit, and then with his, with the pen inside of Illustrator, draws a very clean circle. It wasn't until this year that I recognized the circle kind of looks like an outline of an ear, like an animated ear. And because I always thought he didn't get it right. It wasn't even. But now I realize, no, he did get it right. It's an ear, listening, music. Wow, okay, that's great. And then another buddy, Zach Parsons, who's the meaning-making general of my life, although he has other meaning-making generals in his, turned me on to this idea of the well that never runs dry. How, and I've thought about this idea that by going inward, you can discover by going inward, you can find the way, you can find the truth. That's the idea of the hero's journey, in my opinion. That's what I get from that. But Zach said, the well that never runs dry. For whatever reason, that stuck in my head. And then when I was looking one day, I'm like, holy shit, our process, the way that I think about the process, the inward, going inward, is a commitment to enter the depths of who we are. Like when I'm writing a song, like I want the artist to tell me a story, a real story, and I want them to explain what it did, how it felt, who it was, where it happened. Like I want you to paint a vivid picture, and through that process of inquiry, the same goes for branding, the same goes for creating an identity for a bio or for a artist project. It's a process of inquiry where let's enter the depths of who you are as an ordinary person. Tell me your story as you. Who are you? What's your story? Where'd you come from? It's very ordinary seeming. In the depths of that, we can unlock the unique, extraordinary thing that is you, or that is the artist. So this process of the swirl of going in, and to me, it's like meditation. It's like anything. The well never runs dry. The well that is the source, as Rick Rubin would say, it's the Holy Spirit. If you're Catholic, I think everybody. It's the simulation. Whoever's fucking running the simulation. If you're, I don't know, a modern age digital person, we're all. In my eyes, we're all talking about the same stream of information or connectivity, whatever that thing is. It's the muse, if you're, get down with that. And so that stream is the well that never runs dry. How do you access that? Well, you access it by not thinking and just acting, just being. No different than what I'm attempting to do on this podcast is to flow, is to be a receiver of signal to transfer into conversation, to express, to reintroduce Wally Opus, and to express the meaning behind it.
Gotcha. Okay. It's cold.
I'm coming through, it'll be me and you, and I can't wait to see you, my lady.
He started playing this one, and I think, in the back of my mind, I was like, it's really pretty, picking pattern. And then I heard the chorus and was like, oh my God, what is that? Like, I loved everything about it, and it just immediately jumped out at me, and just got really excited to encourage him to keep exploring the song.
So that was Eden Brolin talking about a song written by her husband, Cameron Crosby. They're a folk duo in Ghost Prom, a band that we work with out of upstate New York. And they recently discussed this song playing in the background, started this clip called El Camino from the Green Room. It was a song that we recorded live when they were warming up backstage before their second consecutive sold-out show at Blue Stocking Social here in Evansville in this past January. So that clip you just heard was from a new podcast we've created called Wally Opus Release Companion. It's a deep dive into the behind the scenes of every Wally Opus release. So this first one was with Ghost Prom and their new live recording. And we talk about, the songwriting process, how the record itself came to be, how the recording process, and in this case it was spontaneous. So we're excited to do this with all of our future releases, including some exciting stuff coming up this year with the Chugs and a bunch of new people that we're bringing on. So stream Release Companion wherever you listen to your podcast, and check out Ghost Prom's newest release, El Camino from the Green Room, available wherever you stream or download music.
Get into my car. Promise it's not far. Let's do this right. Calm down.
To reintroduce Wally Opus is to reestablish or to discover really for the first time a true vision statement. And the vision statement is, at Wally Opus, we believe that tastefully combined imperfect parts can come together to make a perfect whole. Just like a family, just like a landscape, beautiful landscape, just like looking up at space, these, or even that a beautiful woodworking thing, you know, it's got imperfections, or a great song. I always think of Give Me Shelter. I always think of Give Me Shelter by the Rolling Stones, where you hear Mick Jagger scream, "Woo!" He's just being himself in the background as the female singer, which I'm sorry, I'm blanking on her name, is singing "Pain, Murder," and it's just, they leave that in there. They leave that in there. You know, that's the beauty of it. The imperfection, what seems like imperfection, is actually the magical ingredient. Happy accident. That's Glenn John's method for you recording folks. Happy accident. He talks about it in his book. Discovering the Glenn John's method was an accident. Or it seemed, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was perfectly timed, whatever. Anyway, wholesome is the new punk. The reason it also resonated with me was because the people attracted to the team these days, the people who I work with at Wally Opus, on Wally Opus music and projects, are people who are here, I wrote this earlier. They're spirited, they're relentless, they're committed believers, and they're all raising families, and we're doing our best to be useful and good. And when I say believers, I don't necessarily mean they're all Christian, or I don't even necessarily mean they're all, I'm not talking about religion really. And the reason I keep bringing up religion is because I'm having a lot of conversations right now about religion outside of music. Just a lot of conversations about spirituality and things. But in this case, these people, they're wholesome people. They're seeking wholesomeness. They're attracted to wholesomeness. Again, that doesn't, it means like, to me, it means like they're attracted to responsibility. They're attracted to being good people. They want to be good people. They want to do well. They want to help. They want to serve. And that seems wholesome to me. That feels wholesome. I think it also translates to the acts that we're getting signed up to Wally Opus. Not that all of them are seeking the same things that we are, or that I am personally, or that they're all family people. That's not it at all. But they all have the thing in common, that is, they're committed to themselves. They're committed to what's true. They really want it. It doesn't feel superficial. I can't think of anything that feels superficial among them. But that doesn't mean that we don't brand and we don't market and we don't, create, or we don't tell stories that are exaggerated, or that are, they're based on true stories, but the characters change or the situations change. So, but the people themselves, they have a they have a presence to them. They have a they have a warmth. They have an honesty. They have a trust, and they all seem to want good. I keep using that word good, I guess. Good and wholesome perhaps go together. That is the aim. And I do want to say, very, very straightforward, I have made many mistakes doing what I'm doing, and I'll make many mistakes going forward. That's part of it. That's the journey, right? That's the imperfection within the perfect story. Is what is the perfect story? It's a full story. It's got the whole fucking thing. It embodies everything. Don't just give me the highlight reel. Don't give me the Instagram page. I also want the notes. I want the Twitter. I want the emails. I want everything to paint me the full picture of who or what this is. All right, I'm taking you inside my digital office space, my digital audio workstation space, and I'm going to show you the before and after of a song I just mixed, produced for somebody, an artist who I've worked with in the past, and then we're working on his next record together. He does everything at home, sends me stuff, and then I sort of take it from there. And he's like, "You got free reign to make it whatever it takes you." So I just think it's maybe interesting to show you guys the before and after. So here's the before. This is the original producer mix. Okay, so that's the mix I was sent, and so when I listened to it, first thing I thought was something's up with the bass, something sounds off, it sounds muddy, we just need to clear everything out, start kind of over, we need to bring the drums forward, but I kind of like the space, I see what he's going for. He likes Travis Scott, and Black Sabbath was another reference. So okay, so let's start that. I used to be something that I was thinking about with this track. I went to school for music production, and I think I had it ingrained in my head that things had to be done a certain way. I was just telling my wife this earlier, and these days I just really could give a shit less how things are supposed to be done, and all I care about is it cool? Does it sound good? And that's really all I give a shit. Who cares how we got there? It's kind of the Facebook mentality. They just gotta build stuff, not tons of procedure. At least that's what I gathered from one fucking podcast of listening to the CEO of Instagram. Anyway, so then here's my mix. So again, his mix, or producer mix. Wally mix. So, I think the biggest thing, I knew something was up with the bass, so I went in, so like, before I'd say, send me all different, like all the individual drum tracks. I need everything separated, no effects, no nothing. But instead, what I asked this fella to do is like, send me the clean drum track and the affected drum track with everything on it. And then I go in there and listen to it, and I kind of chop it up, or not chop it up, but like break up the different frequency ranges. And I threw some off to the left and just had all highs on the left, which you can hear. And then, but there's reverb on the tracks. So it creates this natural space. So I don't have a ton of reverb from my side. I'm using a lot of what he sent me. And then with the drum track itself, his version, it sounded muddy. Well, the drum track has bass frequencies in it. Like the kit that he's using has a kind of a sub bass element to it. So I just dropped that down in pitch, the whole drum track. And so the whole drum track is darker and heavier, but it's still punchy. And so I think, like, what did I do here? Oh, that's not even the drums. Yeah, so, you have your clean drums. Threw that off to the left. And actually, this is the same pitch as the original, but it's the high pass, so you can't tell. Yeah, then these are the other drum tracks. So that's it. But then, you put those together. His bass was already pretty clean, so I was fine with that. And I used just a combination of his dry tracks with the affected tracks. So the way that his demo sounded, I said, send me that as is with all the tracks, and then I want you to take everything off and send me the clean version, and I'm going to mix these down. And he really believes in me, or in my decision making. So like, I did some arrangement stuff at the front, like it typically is reduction for me, to where I take things away before adding them back in. And then there's a part 2 to the song. And then my mix. So, even with that, the drums, they're kind of back in his mix. Let's bring those suckers forward. I think I did some parallel. Yeah. And I threw it back to the left. So this same thing, this drum track has the kind of heavy bass frequency, so we just drop that, make sure everything has the same pitch, or make sure everything's in tune. And then yeah, that's it. So I thought that would be fun and interesting to show you. So yeah, we'll do this again sometime soon. In reintroducing Wally Opus, it's important to say a couple things about where we've been and where we're going. I think when I first started Wally Opus, I was very keen on the idea that Wally Opus had to be a traditional label in the sense of owning entire masters, and that was in funding the projects completely through the label. And as I've done this, it's not even feasible for us, for this little organization in Southwest Indiana. So we're doing things differently. We're more of a partner now. We're more of a, we still have all label services, but each project is different, and we have procedures, and frankly, I don't feel the urge or the need to go into the exact details of working with us, because that's proprietary. It feels that that's personal between the artist and us. However, I do think that we try in our contracts and in our agreements, our goal is to make something that is mutually beneficial, that by you winning, we win. And if we win, you win. That's the community. That's the partnership. And I think I've learned a lot about that over the last couple of years. Wally Opus is going to turn 4 in April. And while I haven't committed to this as a full-time thing always, I've had to have day jobs here and there. it is always something that I'm committed to. And I've been doing music for over 10 years now. So, but having started 4 years ago with my first 2 signees, and I was alone at the time, working on them by myself for the most part, with the bands and the artists' help, was Mick May and then The Strangers. And we built both of those projects, released them. The Strangers had an incredible journey, had an incredible run, and I'm not sure it's over for them, but we ended up parting ways. And I think that it's important in every relationship, inside and outside of music, that when things have run their course, or when it's not mutually beneficial anymore, it is time to part ways, and we try to decouple as meaningfully and as gently and as gracious as possible, and we do our best. But sometimes our best isn't good enough, and I completely recognize that for other projects or other people that we've worked with. We're constantly learning and honestly attempting to do our best. So I think starting with those 2, and then getting into artist management and figuring out that's kind of a whole nother beast than the label stuff. And then it was, and then I had this idea last year that, we're going to have interns, we're going to have a whole network of local people, and we're going to be sort of like a creative agency. And then, but there was just not enough money to go around, honestly, to be able to pay everybody, or to be able to compensate people, or to keep people busy enough to where it was like, this just isn't sustainable. And then I had a baby last year, and after the baby came, there's a second child I've had with my wife, Chloe, and Chloe and I really sat down and talked about and I had a really fateful meeting with a mentor who basically just said, look, dude, Wally Opus is 3 years old. You're really committing a lot to this. Your wife's committing a lot to this. Your family's committing a lot to this. People in the community or in the organization are committing a lot to it. You have to decide. Because how I was running things was so stupid, just monetarily. I didn't know what I was doing. I still don't, but getting better, learning. And he said that it's sort of the time to decide if this is going to be something that you truly build and you figure it out, or is it a hobby? And there's nothing wrong with either one, but they just have different levels of commitment and are going to have different requirements. And that really stuck with me. So I committed to building it. We've been building it to the best that we can. So now the team is very small, but everybody does everything. Resourceful, scrappy, blue collar. These are the words that we use. And so our goal this year is to sign 10 acts. Last year we had 3. We're up to 8. And I'm excited to make those announcements soon, but we have sort of a way that we want to present it that is not quite ready yet. And rolling out some exciting stuff in a shop. We've got a bunch of new music in the works, some from reoccurring acts of last year and some that are brand new, some that are kind of moving over maybe, or moving onto a label. And then we launched a podcast network last year called Nectar. Nectar in Greek, the word, I don't even know how to say it, but it translates in English to drink of the gods. And to me, a great conversation is like a jolt of truth, of transcendence, and can snap you out of anything or lift you into a place of new understanding. And that's the beauty of a great conversation. So our goal at Nectar is to cultivate and create great conversations. And right now that's just with Southern Indiana podcasters, but just like the label, we are open to expanding. One big thing that happened at the label last year that we're excited about right now, this is the last thing I'm going to share because I have to go, we have a session starting soon, is that we signed 2 producers who are twin brothers, the Monis brothers. They're originally from Woodstock. They now live apart. One lives in LA, one lives in New York. And so, but the real meaningful thing that happened on the label side in that instance was that every record label that I've studied so far from the past, Elektra, Stax, and Atlantic, are the 3 that I've spent the most time like reading a memoir on and researching, listening to their acts. It all started with the founder doing everything himself because they were all started by men. In this case, they all got to a point where it didn't become sustainable to do everything themselves. So they find somebody who's better at recording and producing than they are. And then they turn to focus on building the label. And that is where we're at today, is that sort of like creating the whole ecosystem of Wally Opus with the new producers. And that to me was a stage of growth that I was so excited to get to, but I had to do it in a meaningful way and in good time. And it took this long to find somebody, two people who matched that, same interest, same place, where it made sense for them to do it as well. So that's very exciting for us and for them. We're all very excited. So to wrap this up, I do want to say wholesome is the new punk. And I believe this. I believe that it feels right that I am very open and very honest now as if I was closeted about the fact that I am a family man, that I do want to be good, that Wally Opus is more than just a label. It's a collective. It's an identity of striving to do our best, even when our best isn't perfect, but together that creates the thing that is perfect. That is the thing that we will contribute. And through that, hopefully, with our best intentions, we can do some good. We can inspire others to do their thing. And we can meaningfully grow, cultivate lasting careers for recording artists and hopefully podcasters alike. So, without further ado, that is me reintroducing Wally Opus as the Perfectly Imperfect label from Southern Indiana.